Hello everyone, welcome to a Muggle Minute. So this is a podcast about Wizards Unite, which hasn't come out yet, but we're still going to talk about it because it's quite interesting, and hopefully we'll get some more news soon, as we don't have too much at the moment. So we're gonna have more speculative talks about the game. So with me here is Pokefodder. How are you doing today, Fodder?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
It's a bit cold, but after what I've heard in your situation in California, I feel a bit better.
Yeah, it's crazy windy and it's actually raining, which is almost unheard of in Southern California. So it's a nice change. It's more like New York weather, which I just got back from New York a few days ago, so
New York
I brought
weather.
it with me.
That must be fun. So, anyways, Wizards Unite. Aside from the trailer and the website and the occasional Twitter, Instagram post, we don't really have too much news about it yet, but Niantic has certainly been making moves on other fronts. Most recently, they've announced PvP in Pokemon Go, and some people got to actually test it out. A few people on GoHub went and tested it out, and they had a really comprehensive article on it. So looks like Pokemon Go will be getting PvP soon. And I know it's Pokemon Go, not Wizards Unite, but it could definitely be implemented in one way or another in Wizards Unite. So any initial thoughts about the PvP in at least Pokemon Go right now, Fodder?
Yeah, for sure. I know people have been waiting, what is it, like 2 years in Pokemon Go for PvP, and I kind of feel like one of the reasons why Wizards Unite, it was rumored or speculated that it would come out in the end of 2018, and now we officially know it won't come out until 2019. But I felt like PvP was going to be a product of something that was coming at launch. I didn't think they were going to launch the game like they did with Pokemon Go and not have any kind of a PvP element to it. So I felt like with Pokemon Go getting PvP, that was kind of the last hurdle before getting Wizards Unite as a full package deal to be a complete game, a more complete game on launch day, instead of, when Pokemon Go was released, there were all these, we're going to have trading, and we're going to have friends, and we're going to have PvP.
Yeah.
And eventually we've gotten there. But, I think for trading, it took 18 months. And then for PvP, it looks like it's going to take just over 2 years or just under 2 years. So I feel like Wizards Unite is going to be a more complete game at launch based on the PvP. So as far as that goes, I think Pokemon Go getting PvP is a great sign for Wizards Unite launching as a more complete game down the road.
Yeah, for sure it's a good sign for Wizards Unite having, more complete features, but I kind of see like the other side to this, because like with Pokemon Go and how, for example, how Ludia does Jurassic World Live as well. Pokemon Go, they didn't have trading at first, they didn't have raid bosses, they didn't have, PvP, and they might just want to like delay content, throwing out content, so they would keep on having updates in stores so the game doesn't get boring. Although I would, one could argue that the time frame for them pushing these out weren't that great. It took quite a while for trading and PvP. So I don't know. I feel like Jurassic World Live did Jurassic World Live's pacing was pretty good. They first came out with not too much stuff, and then I think it was first update since global release, they added PvE, they added strike towers, and then this update they added guild alliances. So Wizards Unite could have PvP at start, and PvP I guess it's a bit different than, let's say, trading, which Pogo and JWA both have now, and like other features, since it's more of a core essential feature of a game. It's the engaging part, because like one reason why I've had a lot of people tell me that Jurassic World Live felt more fun than Pokemon Go was because of the PvP, and that was one of the most engaging features about the game over Pokemon Go. So they could totally launch it with PvP and not hold it back as an update or a surprise they have in their bag. So yeah, I could totally see it launching with PvP. Pogo having PvP, it definitely helps increase those chances of it launching with PvP, obviously. So yeah, it does seem like there is a great chance of Wizards Unite launching with PvP.
Yeah,
So,
it's really crazy. Recently the Forbes put out an article that said it is anticipating Wizards Unite to make $100 million. I want to say in the first 30 days of launch. Like that's how highly anticipated this game is.
yeah.
And I almost feel like if they don't have a PvP element at launch, I have a feeling that they're going to lose a lot of the player base pretty quickly.
hmm
My big concern with the PvP is in my head, I picture it similar to Jurassic World Alive, where your character learns spells, and then you
hmm
somehow increase the effectiveness of your spells. And I don't know if there's that other Harry Potter game that's the tap game, and I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head.
Hogwarts Mystery?
Yeah, Hogwarts
Uh huh.
Mystery, where certain you can go offensive, defensive, or some kind of a special. So I think if they add the paper rock scissors element to the PvP with casting spells, I would be much happier with that element, similar to Jurassic World Alive's PvP system, than what it looks like Pokemon Go is going to have, where it's just tap, 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 and then pick your charge move. And my first thought is it doesn't sound incredibly strategy based as
hmm
much as Jurassic World Alive is, as far as when is your opponent going to try to distract you, and can you cleanse that
hmm
distraction and counterattack back. So I think there's definitely a better way to do PvP. I just hope that they don't try to make this quick battles in and out and not as much strategy involved, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so that is on assumption. So uh, you're feeling like they're gonna do dueling for PvP, right? Which that makes total sense. Dueling is a a pretty big part in the wizarding world, I guess. We had some really memorable scenes of dueling, obviously, in the books and movies. So yeah, that could totally be a thing. I would agree that it might be a bit and I'm not sure if you totally agree with this, but it might be a bit more simplistic than the battle system we have in Jurassic World Live. Just because like Harry Potter as a franchise, it has a really broad audience base. A lot of people all over the world like Harry Potter, and maybe because they want that broader base audience, they might try to make it more simplistic so people of all uh, age groups or all different levels of engage or involvement in gaming in their lives can participate in the game. Make it easier for people who don't usually play games to understand, so that people who do like Harry Potter and the series can really get hooked on the game more easily than say Jurassic World Live, because Jurassic World Live, as we know, it's a bit PvP is quite complicated, and Pogo on the other hand, it's it's a bit more simplistic. Although I can't say for sure because we haven't really experienced PvP yet in Pogo, but most of it's still just tapping. It's not just too much work, and I'm not saying it's bad by any means, but it's not that difficult to understand, which helps a lot, broadening their player base. So yeah, that's what I could see coming out of the PvP and uh, Wizards Unite. It seems like.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think what has kept Pokemon Go where it is the fact that anybody can play it. And so I definitely think Niantic is going to keep it more simple than, say, the battle system in Jurassic World Alive. I just hope it's a little more cerebral than Pokemon Go. Maybe somewhere in the middle, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I think would be a nice sweet spot, because you are exactly right. There is such a huge Harry Potter Wizarding World fan base, and in order to keep as many of them engaged for as long as possible, they've got to make everybody feel like they have a chance, if that makes sense. So from that
Mm-hmm.
aspect, I completely agree with you. I do think it'll be more simple than Jurassic World Live, but hopefully just a little more complex than tap 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 swipe would be the sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So looking at Pogo's PvP, so basically it's we have different charge attacks, and you tap some and then you get a charge attack, and then you get like a number of shields to block against other charge attacks or not. It seems like other than type advantages stuff, it seems quite simplistic. You tap and you get a charge move, and then you guess if they're gonna shield or not, and then as a defending player, you guess if they're gonna use a charge. So if you're gonna shield or not. So it's a combination of Pokemon mechanics, type advantages, plus rock paper scissors, plus tapping. So
Yeah,
that's what.
and one thing that I absolutely don't think that they're going to do is this isn't going to be Pokemon Go reskinned.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think that with all the technology that they're developing, as far as, like, you've seen the videos where they have the Pikachu that's running around the courtyard amongst people, and when it goes behind a flowered pot, it actually disappears from your screen while it's behind there and then pops back out.
Mm-hmm.
I can see something like a Quidditch match somehow being implemented
Yes.
using that type of technology. And maybe that is the PvP element that we get, and maybe not so much dueling. But I definitely, one thing, do not think that this is going to be is just Pokemon Go reskinned. I think it's going to be its own unique game and have its own unique features. I just think that dueling may just be one little aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that's going to be the only PvP or PvE element to this game.
Yeah, I was thinking like if they're gonna do PvP, it's either gonna be dueling or Quidditch, and although dueling, I guess you could do uh more long range globally. You could connect with other players around the world and duel, but Quidditch seems like more of a local PvP thing to find local players to play with. But
Yeah, for sure.
mm-hmm.
And if you've looked at Niantic, like, all over their website, everything that they've ever talked about is getting people out in the community, getting people involved and to work together. And so I think having, like, Quidditch tournaments, for example, would totally fit into what the company kind of stands for. Get out and explore your park. Okay, so you have that, the exploration, interact with your community. If you're building Quidditch teams,
Mm-hmm.
there you go.
Yeah.
You've kind of got all that. And then if you make friends that become your Quidditch team, I think it really opens up a lot of doors, and something that is completely new that we've not experienced in any mobile game thus far.
Mm-hmm. I like the sound of that. Quidditch, come on. Oh, okay. So, when we're talking about PvP, something that Pogo hasn't done that great of job on is the question of spoofing. With all, AR geolocation based games, it's inevitable that there will be cheaters, and a big portion of cheaters are come in the form of spoofers. So
Right.
Pogo hasn't done that much. Obviously it has done some steps to eliminate cheaters, but it doesn't seem that they've done that great of job in comparison to, let's say, Ludia on Jurassic World Live, which I honestly was shocked by how fast they eliminated a huge portion of spoofers. Obviously, they've not eliminated them all. I don't think that's ever possible. But they've eliminated a huge portion in, like, what was it, 2 months after global
Yeah.
release, and that's props to them. But one reason that I think Ludia did a better job of that, which I think it's reasonable, because it's because Jurassic World Live has PvP, and people are way more concerned about cheaters and spoofers that they're fighting against in PvP than some other dude halfway across the world spoofing for collecting trophy Pokemons, let's say. So that might be the reason why Jurassic World Alive has moved quicker on that than Pogo. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on spoofing and how it could affect Wizards Unite.
Yeah, you know what? I have to completely agree with you. I think anytime that there is a reward for cheating on anything in life,
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to have people who will try to cheat the system, and that's just the way it is. People are always looking to gain
Yeah.
some type of an advantage over everybody else, and technology develops so fast and changes so quickly that I think the spoofers are going to be a step ahead of the developers at all times.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that to take into note here is that just prior to the launch of PvP, Niantic really cracked down on spoofers.
Mm-hmm.
Not playing Pokemon Go a lot anymore. I don't know how much they've actually done,
Mm-hmm.
but I know if you look at YouTube and just type in Pokemon Go, you'll see numerous videos on spoofer accounts banned.
Yeah.
I noticed that a lot of the really big named YouTubers who spoofed, and that was kind of how they built their audience, is on spoofing
Mm-hmm.
and how to spoof.
Yeah.
A lot of those, I believe their channels, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, got completely like taken down, and or if the channel's still there, a lot of their videos have been removed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was Niantic making a concerted effort of, look, like some of these people have been getting all the best Pokemon for 16 months, 18 months now. And you're right. The casual player doesn't want to face them. And you're also right in that if I'm sitting here in Southern California and Steve in Iowa is spoofing all over the world to collect Pokemon and fill out his Pokédex, I really don't care. Like it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
affect me in any way. But now if I have to take my Pokemon that I've walked around to pick up, and then I have to fight someone who has all the best, well, now I care. And so I think for the integrity of the game, I think whether you're super successful or not, I think you have to make a concerted effort and continually be in the process of eliminating as many people as you can as possible who are gaining an illegitimate advantage.
Mm-hmm. Rare mention of Iowa outside of politics. Poor
Oh,
Iowans.
Steve in Iowa. Someone
Steve in
named
Iowa.
Steve is going, how does he know about me?
Poor guy. Just want some more Pokedex collections. But
Gotta have all those Gen 4s.
Gen 4. Yeah, I haven't played Pogo in a while, but it seems like from what I've seen and what you've observed, it does seem like a lot of these spoofing YouTube channels or whatever, they've either shut down or deleted videos, or I see a lot of people trying to like rebrand themselves.
Yeah,
Um, those who already have
definitely.
a viewer base, and I actually do applaud these people who are trying to do good. They know the importance of PvP and the consequences of cheating in PvP, and they're trying to do the right thing. So good for them. So
Yeah, for sure, for
yeah,
sure.
and hopefully, when Wizards Unite comes out, a lot of the spoofing problem would be solved quick.
Well, I think
Uh huh.
Niantic has learned how to detect
Yeah.
spoofing,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of using Pokemon Go as the guinea pig. They've learned a lot between when they first launched and now
Mm-hmm.
about how people go about getting an unfair advantage, and I
Yeah.
think that can only benefit Wizards Unite.
Yeah, and not to belittle Pokemon Go, but uh, not just for spoofing. I think Niantic has been using Pokemon Go as a guinea pig for a lot of things. For
Well,
um,
Pokemon Go was the first. Like
yeah, yeah.
whether no matter what other game comes along that's augmented reality based,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to look at what did Pokemon Go do? Pokemon Go is the king of the hill right now, and when you're the king of the hill, everybody's going to look at what you did
Mm-hmm.
and then try to say how can we do that but better.
Yeah,
And I think the spoofing is one way that everybody is trying to one up what happened before.
yeah. So, step aside from the spoofing topic. Let's talk about more. It doesn't get mentioned more often, this topic. It's about a 5G and the implications of that in AR games. So for those of you who don't know, 5G is the newest. Can I even say it's newest? It's not really out yet though.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about this is it's kind of like it's like tomorrow. It's
Mm-hmm.
always it's always close, but it's never actually there because as soon as you reach tomorrow, it becomes today.
Mm-hmm.
And 5G has been talked about, and by all information, it will be common in 2019. But as of right now, like there's no hype about it other than in the gaming world where everybody's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, the coming of 5G is going to be great,"
Mm-hmm.
but you don't hear all these stories of new fibers being laid, telecoms
Mm-hmm.
beefing up their systems, and when anything like this comes out, it's going to be like, is it going to be all over the world at one time? Probably not. And fortunately for us in America and probably you in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
like we're going to have access to it before smaller countries, you know.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, 5G is this new, network that would be, I'd say the main application is more in maybe mobile, but uh of course there could be a lot more applications of that, but we're talking about mobile gaming here for the most part, obviously. So, just some data I'm looking at on a Go Hub, which they probably have their data from somewhere else. So right now we have 4G in the real world. The download speed is 20 MB per second average, and 5G is will be or could be. I can't even use these. It could be up to 50 gigabytes per second. That's a huge improvement. Like that's incredible. And latency for 4G is 50 milliseconds, and then 5G would be down to 1 millisecond at least, according to the article I'm looking at. So yeah, some implications of this. Why it would be more significant for Wizards Unite is the possibility of having low latency AR PvP. That would be pretty awesome because obviously AR isn't the easiest technology to work around, and that that would, and connecting with other people in the world via the internet is a difficult thing, especially with really complex technology. So hopefully, if 5G does come out, that could be a possibility. There's so many possibilities actually. Do you have anything in mind, Fodder, about this?
Well, the technology is always going to get better. Things are
Mm-hmm.
always going to go faster, even when you're like, wow, there's no way we can go faster. And then
Yeah.
something will come along and go, wow, that's even faster. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're speaking a whole nother language when you start using numbers to the Muggle and me. But, going back to the PvP and the Quidditch, like if you can have basically real time,
Mm-hmm.
that's what's going to make something like a PvP Quidditch style game possible. Like
Yeah.
it wouldn't work if I'm trying to do a move or to catch the snitch,
Mm-hmm.
but where I think it is, it's not actually there because of lag.
Yeah.
If it's actually there when I think it should be there,
Mm-hmm.
that's what's going to make that type of PvP possible, is that super high speed, low latency, no delay, no lag technology. And, maybe if PvP doesn't come with the game initially,
Mm-hmm.
it may be because 5G gets delayed. It would be one of the reasons I could see that happening.
Yeah, that's a really good point. If they are going to do PvP, I think 5G would be at least very helpful for them. So, like as you said, they might delay it for the reasons of waiting for 5G, or they could possibly release some kind of other form of PvP that doesn't require the that doesn't really rely on low latency, and maybe revamp it after 5G gets released in the real world, gets commercialized, etc. So yeah, that's a real possibility. So it really depends on Niantic, or they could even like use it on Pogo first. Coming back to the guinea pig, um, poor Pogo. But yeah,
Yeah,
mm-hmm,
they could launch Wizards Unite with a dueling,
mm-hmm,
a spells dueling
mm-hmm,
PvP
yeah,
with something like Quidditch, and Quidditch is like the most obvious example of it
mm-hmm,
being something down the road. So it does launch with a PvP element to it, but then it has more down the road that they're working towards when the 5G becomes more expansive.
yeah. That seems like the way to go. Hello, Niantic. But yeah. So hopefully we get 5G soon, and we get a better PvP experience, whatever they're gonna offer from Wizards Unite. So before we finish here, let's talk about one little interesting thing that came up. I think last week, or was it this week? Someone posted something about the new Niantic Harry Potter game. It was in an article from where I can't really remember, being Samsung exclusive.
Uh,
That got quite a few people frightened there.
yeah, I mean, can you imagine? This is, I don't think this is going out on too much of a limb to say Wizards Unite is the most highly anticipated game launching at least in the first half of 2019. I don't think that's a stretch of any imagination, right?
Mm-hmm.
And can you imagine if they came out and said, by the way, all you millions of iPhone users, you
Mm-hmm.
can't play the game. Like, that's not going to happen, right? There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what you and I we talked about a little bit earlier is I can 100% if I believe Samsung is dropping basically a bank load of money into Niantic's coffers for some exclusivity.
Mm-hmm.
I can see exclusive skins. I can see maybe exclusive rewards for those who are playing on. I don't even know what phone it is. I don't know anything about Samsung phones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not the Pixel. I think that's Google, right?
Yeah.
But I can totally see them partnering up and offering something exclusive, but it's not going to be the entire game that's going to be exclusive, you know?
Yeah. I think that's a bit too far. Like, as far as the game being exclusive on Samsung phone, the best I could see is probably maybe they have the beta on Samsung phones, but then when they release it globally, it should and probably will be on all mobile platforms. It would be extremely foolish of them to have it on Samsung phones only. Like even like having it not on Samsung phones, but like only on Android phones or only on iOS phones, only on Apple phones. That wouldn't be that wouldn't be really that wouldn't be a good move for them. But yeah, I agree. They could have exclusive items and stuff, exclusive spells. They could, like what Pogo did with. I can't remember. Did they do something with Starbucks or something?
They had stops at
Yeah,
Starbucks and Sprint stores.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Sprint stores.
but going back to even what you said about beta testing on one particular phone,
Mm-hmm.
kind of the point of beta testing is
Mm-hmm.
to test out a wide array
Yeah.
of scenarios that you in-house can't possibly replicate.
Mm-hmm.
So you beta test out to a lot of people, and eventually a lot of bugs will get caught during that. And if you give it to only one phone, Samsung and Android runs a little bit different than iOS.
Yeah.
So there may be bugs that aren't detected on just a Samsung phone that would be detected on an iOS phone. So I don't even know that would be in their best interest,
Mm-hmm.
quite honestly.
Yeah. That's a good point.
But it would be tempting to go get a Samsung phone if that was the case.
I think my mom has one or something. I don't really keep up with Samsung phones. I think they're called Samsung Galaxy, whatever. That's my extent of knowledge on Samsung phones. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen, and we or all platforms of mobile gaming will get the game. Maybe Samsung gets some exclusive stuff. Maybe Apple gets some exclusive stuff, but who knows? By the way, do we know about Samsung actually investing resources in Niantic?
No, not other than just the article. I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't follow the stock or business news articles about it. I can't imagine that someone would just make that up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they saw that they were donating or investing,
Mm-hmm.
not donating, but investing a huge sum of money,
Yeah.
and then just kind of added on their little. Here's what we think it means. So maybe that was the root.
Yeah.
I think it was it Inquirer? Was that the article or the publication that put that out? I can't remember.
I'd have to look for it, but yeah, it's quite I mean, I could totally see them, Samsung or Apple or any other phone manufacturer investing into big mobile gaming companies like Niantic. It's totally possible. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, definitely. I can see. Way back when
Mhm.
what was it? It was American Idol first came out on TV.
Yeah.
I think it's AT&T now, but I think it was Singular back then. They actually had, you could vote first, or you could vote earlier if you had a Singular or AT&T phone.
Really?
And that helped advertise AT&T. Probably sold more phones because people could get more votes in or their votes
Mhm.
sooner. And so
Mhm.
you could see something happening like that. And it would be in Samsung's best interest for their phone sales
Mhm.
to have a partnership with, like I said, what is probably the most highly anticipated game coming out in at least the first half of 2019.
Mhm.
So the fact that a major phone company would be investing in this game totally passes the smell test for me. Now, whether they're going to get like complete exclusivity, I don't buy into that aspect of it
Mhm.
any further than some exclusive content. And if they're going to invest $40 million, I think you should probably get some exclusive content. And there will be people whose phone contracts are up that, if this is true, that could persuade them, probably
Mhm.
a younger generation. But I mean, I've only had an iPhone since an iPhone was released.
Mhm.
That's the only phone I've had, so I'm not going to go switch for a mobile game.
Uh-huh.
But a younger generation who is getting a phone from their parents or something like that,
Mhm.
or maybe going to high school and getting a graduation gift, that may persuade them to switch over to the Samsung for this exclusive content that only they will have. I can totally see that happening.
Yeah, and like even if Samsung isn't getting any exclusive content, I mean just building this infrastructure helps them a lot because, they're basically investing into something that would like not even help them but the help the mobile phone industry or smartphone industry in general because if this game succeeds, that will obviously have more people buying phones in general, and Samsung is a huge a competitor in that market. So even if they're not getting anything, and if they really are investing that much into Niantic, I doubt they're not going to get anything at all. But even if they don't get anything at all, or exclusively for Samsung, it still helps them a lot. It's a really mutually beneficial investment I see if that is the case for
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
But anyways, we're up at a bit over a half an hour, so we could wrap it up here. And thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of Muggle Minute.
We might have to change the name. I don't know. I like it for now, but
Yeah, but I mean, when the game comes out, then we won't be Muggles anymore. We'll be witches, protecting the statue of secrecy, or at least.
I might be a wizard. You never know.
Oh, witches and wizards, or an elf.
All right, man.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, thanks for doing this, Flutter, and this is quite interesting. Well, hopefully we could post or do these once every week, but we really don't know because Niantic could like throw out a new trailer, throw out like announcements anytime. They're kind of random with these announcements, so we might, if a huge news comes out, we might do like 2 in a week. Who knows? But hopefully we'll get something soon, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.